Hey everyone, and welcome back to Carmona Homeschool of 3. I am so excited to be filming another video for you guys. I am on my second cup of coffee for the day. I tried to film this once before and my brain just was like, nope, you need some coffee. So here we are. So today I thought I would do a video called What I Wish I Knew Before Homeschooling. And first I was going to do 5 and then I came up with 8. So I figured this would be helpful for people who are looking into homeschooling, or even just for other homeschool moms to know like what other homeschooling moms are struggling with in the beginning, or homeschoolers. There might be homeschooling dads out there, I don't know. So let's go ahead and jump right into my, I believe, 8 things that I wish I knew before I started homeschooling. Number 1 is definitely other people's opinions. I knew when I started homeschooling that my family wasn't going to agree. People I knew weren't going to understand it, weren't going to like it, and that for a while made me not want to talk to anybody about it. To be honest, I don't really talk to my family about homeschooling because people in my family don't get it. They don't understand it and they don't really approve, but it's not for their approval. It's not for them to approve. It's for me to approve because I'm the mama. So that is my first advice to you if you are a new homeschooling mom or dad, or grandparent, whoever you are. You have to learn not to care about other people's opinions of you homeschooling. That's just the reality of it. And if you have family and friends who are supportive, you are so blessed. Let me tell you, because when your family doesn't get it, they don't approve of it, they don't like it, they don't understand it, then it just makes things harder for you. In terms of you don't have much support. So there is that. That's a big reality of homeschooling, is even though there are so many homeschoolers nowadays, like millions of children being homeschooled, it's just, not as approved as public school. So anyway, that's my first thing I wish I knew. That, and it's not that I didn't know. Like I said, I knew my family wasn't going to approve, but that's something you definitely have to look out for when you're homeschooling, is you kind of have to grow some thick skin about people's opinions. You just have to learn to brush them off. Not in terms of don't stand up for yourself, but I mean like family members and things, when they make their comments, you just got to move along because there's nothing else you can do. So if you are one of those people who don't have support from your friends and family, you are not alone, trust me. Number 2 is, I get asked all the time, where do I start? Emily, where did you start? How do I start homeschooling? First of all, beyond like all of the laws and stuff, whatever state you live in, start simple. This is what I always say. Start with core subjects. Math, reading, if they're little, phonics, letter sounds, letter recognition, things like that. Math, reading. I would suggest grammar, obviously not kindergarten, but what else am I missing? Okay, brain, we need you to work here. You know what I'm saying. Math, language arts, core subjects. If you are in a state where you do have to test, I would also start with science, because you do have to test on science and history. Basically, I always say start with your core subjects and add in the fun things too, like the more fun subjects that you guys want to learn about. But definitely start with your core subjects. Get used to having that, get like a feel of where you're, how much time in one day you're going to spend doing those subjects, and so on. And I also have to say that this is so true for extracurricular activities. I think a lot of homeschoolers feel like they have to put their kids in all kinds of classes to like make up for the no socializing in homeschool. And so we tend to put our kids in like dance and soccer and karate and like a bunch of different things. Don't feel like you have to do that. First of all, we didn't do any of that her first couple years of homeschooling, and my child is just fine. She socializes just fine when we take her to the park, when we take her to do other things, you know, when she's around other kids, when she plays with kids in the neighborhood. Like, she's a totally normal child. She's not a weirdo, you know, just because she doesn't talk to other 8-year-olds every day, but she has her sister and she has me and she has her dad, and you know. So anyway, that's a thing I think that a lot of homeschoolers stress about, is putting their kids into too many extracurricular activities, and you're running around stressed out and you don't have time for school because you got to plan for all these other things you're going to do. So start simple. If you want to put them in one activity, totally fine. If your kid wants to do lots of things, you know, maybe say we'll do one thing a semester or one thing a year. Like, just take it slow. You have time. That was a huge thing for me when I started. Like, I wanted her to do like computer and like science and history and math and reading and like and Spanish and geography, and it's like all of those things will come. Don't rush into it. Don't stress yourself out about it, and don't put so much stress on yourself that you're gonna be like, oh, I don't think I like this homeschooling thing because it's just too much. You don't have to stress yourself out about it. So that's my number 2. Just keep it simple. Okay, this is another one that I think a lot of people jump into when they don't know where to start with homeschooling, is buying curriculum. First of all, take your time and research, and do not feel like you have to buy like a big box set curriculum that's going to cost you $500, $800, over $1,000 for homeschooling curriculum. I get all of our curriculum, and in a total this year, for her 2nd grade year, I spent $150 on all subjects. All subjects, even including like school supplies. So that is super budget friendly. I'm sure if you have if you have older kids, or as the years go on and you have textbooks, things will get cheaper as well, because you have your like textbooks, and if you photocopy from workbooks, then you have the workbooks for the next children and everything like that. So don't feel like you have to spend so much money on curriculum right away. And another reason I suggest that is because you might hear somebody talking about a curriculum and how much it works for their family, how much it works for their child, but the reality is it may not work for you. You may go and buy an $800 curriculum set and think, this is great, I have everything we need, I don't have to buy textbook and workbook here and workbook there, but it might not work for your child. And then you've spent $800 and you usually can't return it. So just know that if you are going to buy box curriculum, there might be a possibility that it doesn't work for you. So I would suggest, if there's any way for you to see samples of inside the workbooks and things like that, watch videos on YouTube for those specific curriculums that you're looking for. A lot of people do flip throughs and things. One thing, my next tip, or one thing I wish I knew, is that you can create a schedule, but you have to be flexible, especially when you have more than one child, and especially when you have little ones, babies, toddlers, even preschoolers, like, or pre-K, kindergarten. Like, things happen with little ones. Kids get sick, they need to go to the doctors, maybe they're just having a bad day, maybe you have a baby who's going through growth spurts and sleep regressions, or whatever it is. Create your schedule, but know that there will be days that you miss school, or you have to push some subjects out and only get to math and reading, or like whatever it is. Be flexible with your schedule, and don't stress. Do not put all that pressure on yourself and feel like you failed because you didn't get to every subject that day, or your baby or toddler was having a meltdown and you didn't get to do school at all, or you didn't start school until 1 o'clock. Don't put so much pressure on yourself, because that makes things so much harder for yourself. I've learned that over the years, and adding more children into our family, that homeschool is like, it has to flow around the children. It has to flow around the children. I am not the person who says we're up at 8 o'clock, we've eaten breakfast by 8:20, and we're on to math by 8:35. That's not me. Never been. But I did do, okay, these are the subjects we're going to do on this day, these days, and so on and so forth. But even then, sometimes you don't get to those subjects. So just create your schedule, but just remember that there are going to be days that things are going to go wrong, and things are going to have to be pushed to another day, and that is okay. That's one of the blessings of homeschool, is that you can do things when you have the time to do them. Okay, so here's another one that I get comments about all the time, is like, I don't feel like I would know how to homeschool my children. Here's the thing. You don't have to be an expert to homeschool. Like, that's the beauty of it. I love it. I love that every year I am learning along with my children. I'm learning along with them in their subjects, but I'm also learning with them how to make our homeschool better every year. How to make it more efficient, more fun, more practical, and easier for our life altogether. So don't feel like you have to be this expert homeschooler who knows everything, because that comes with time. That comes with homeschooling more children. It comes with the time that you've homeschooled. When you've homeschooled for 5 years, you'll know a lot more than when you started. And to some, you may look like an expert because you have that time under your belt as a homeschooling parent. But yeah, I get that a lot, is like, I don't feel like I could homeschool my kids because I don't know anything. And don't feel like you have to know everything about every subject, because there are curriculum choices out there for you that will help you along the way to teach those things to your children, or to help your children learn about those things. Another question I get when people ask me, like, where do we start with curriculum? And when they're asking me for younger children, like preschool and kindergarten, I always say, make it fun. Make it fun. I know when you're starting, like, at least for me, when I started kindergarten with Jocelyn, I was like, I'm going to be more of a strict homeschooling mom. I'm going to be like, this is when we sit down, here's the workbooks, this is what we're getting done for the day. I've pulled out all of these pages, they all need to be done. And then once we get done with all of this handwriting and number and letter recognition and letter sound and all of that, then we'll get to the fun stuff. But the reality is, homeschool should be fun. I mean, learning should be fun. It shouldn't be, and I get that for some children it is forced, because some children are resistant to a lot of things, and they don't want to do math, or they don't want to do reading. But find ways to make whatever subject it is that you're learning about fun, whether that's adding in manipulatives with math so that they can do things like different kinds of manipulatives, like the little cube blocks, or those little balls, like the little fuzzy balls that you can buy a pack of at the Dollar Tree. Things don't have to be expensive. You can do crafts for every unit study that you're doing, or if you're learning about a particular person from history, you can do a craft based on that person. Go onto Google and find coloring pages if your child likes to color. My kids love to color. I know that there are some who don't, so that might not be best thing for your kid. Maybe word searches. Like, just find different ways to spice it up and make it fun if your child is not all into, like, let's just sit down and read this textbook and then write about the questions that we just read about. Obviously, we all know we have to do that at some point, but add in other things as well to make it fun. Especially like I was saying, I lost my train of thought there a little bit, but with little ones like preschooling and kindergarten, just make learning fun. You don't need to go out and buy an expensive preschool curriculum or an expensive kindergarten curriculum. Just find fun ways to teach math, find fun ways to teach letter sounds, find fun ways to spell words with the little magnetic letters, all kinds of things. Play-Doh for shaping letters. There is so many ways to make homeschooling fun, and I think that we should lean towards that way. And that's what I've learned. The more that we homeschool, the more I try to add those things into our day. So another thing that I wish I knew when I started homeschooling was that there is support out there for homeschoolers. You may feel like when you start this journey, you're all alone because you may not know anybody who homeschools. You may be the first in your family to homeschool your children. You may not know anybody in the community. Maybe you just moved to where you live. But there are resources out there for you. If you Google, there are all types of homeschooling, homeschool groups, whether they're religious or non-religious. You can find all types of co-ops and things like that, especially like on Facebook. There are Facebook groups, whether it's virtual or meeting face-to-face. So there are things out there for you. There are also resources available, free resources online. If you just Google free homeschooling curriculum, free homeschooling resources, you will find a ton of stuff there. Also, make sure to look at bookstores and things like that. Like Barnes and Noble will give you a discount for being a homeschooler, which is like an educational discount on like all of their workbooks and everything like that. I think actually all of their books you can get a discount on, as long as I think they want you to show proof that you have are homeschooling. But if you go in, they'll give you the form to fill out, and then you just fill it out and return whatever it is they're asking for, like an ID or something like that. And they give you a discount. I can't remember what the percentage discount is, but I mean, stuff like that. Check your local bookstores as well. We have a local bookstore here as well who also gives a homeschooling discount. So make sure to check those things out. Google and, do research in your local neighborhood, in your county, and see what is available to you. The last thing that I am going to say that I wish when I started I would have taken this into account. I wish I would have listened to myself more rather than outside sources who didn't even really approve of me homeschooling, is do not compare. Do not compare your children to your other children, and don't compare your children to anybody else's kids. Don't compare your first grader to another first grader. Don't compare your fifth grader to another fifth grader. And I don't mean to sound condescending or talking down at all to anybody. These are all things that I wish I would have known from the beginning. And in the beginning, I've talked about this a little bit, Jocelyn struggled with reading. And in turn, I struggled because I was like, am I doing something wrong? She should be able to read in first grade. Other first graders know how to read. And I took it out on myself, and I was frustrated with her at times. Like, what is going on? I don't understand. You should be able to read. And I had family members telling me, and people from outside sources, and you would see, or I would see other kids her age knowing how to read, and I'd be like, why aren't we there yet? I don't understand. And the reality is she just wasn't ready, and that's okay. It is okay. It is okay. It's gonna be okay. She learned how to read. If you're dealing with the same thing, your child will learn how to read too. So, I just feel like there were so many things that I could have done differently when we started homeschooling, and wish I knew when we started homeschooling. And I thought I would just pass my knowledge along to you. Here's the thing, is I get all these questions about homeschooling, And in my mind, like, I know that other people look at me and they think like, oh, you have experience, so give me that knowledge, you know? And I'm going, I have experience, but I still feel like I feel like second grade is like, I just started feeling more confident in my choices with homeschooling. Not my choice to homeschool, but my choice with my experience in homeschooling. So like, what I mean is feeling confident as a homeschooling teacher, and feeling like I knew what I was doing with homeschooling. There are still so many things that I don't know. Sorry for the lighting. It's a super cloudy day and a storm is rolling in. What was I saying? Lost my train of thought there. Basically, there's still so much for me to learn, and even if you have been homeschooling for a while, I feel like there's always going to be so much more for you to learn. So yeah. Anyway, these are the things that I particularly struggled with and wish I had known, and I thought I would pass them along to you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. Like I said, these are all things that I wish I knew. So hopefully it helps, whether you're just watching this video for fun or you're a new homeschooling parent, mom, dad, grandparent, whoever you are. I wish you the best of luck in your journey, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!